Commencement Matter comes on the back of a very fruitful meeting between the AILG and the Labour Party senators, or our Labour Shannon grouping, last week. And it's also an issue that's been articulated by many councillors to ourselves. I'm sure many councillors in the various party groupings, certainly including my esteemed party colleague Mary Freehill and others in my own party. And it's the issue of the gratuity payment, if that's the term to be used, which is now to be calculated based on the pre-21 salary. And my understanding is that this is pretty out of sync with how other gratuity payments are calculated. I think it would be contrary to the normal terms and conditions that apply to public sector employees and other office holders, such as indeed ourselves in both houses. We know that the gratuity payment is capped at a maximum of 20 years service, regardless of length of service by a councillor. And it just seems unusual to me that it's calculated pre-July 2021. I'd be interested to hear the reasoning for that. Many of the people that I've spoken to, and let me tell you, when we sent this around to councillors, I have pages upon pages of responses back from councillors as to how this affects them. Great umbrage at this and their annoyance at that, and I'll read some of them out to you in a moment. And there's a sense that elected members' gratuity calculation should be aligned to their final salary upon retirement, rather than the current calculation, which, as I said, is based on pre-July 2021. Some of the comments that I got on this: prevailing circumstances are out of sync with public service national pay agreements. It's an issue of fairness. It's shocking to see how undervalued we treat the first point of call in our democracy here in Ireland. It's a shabby way to treat local councillors that are available 24/7 all year round. As a lifelong trade unionist, my take on this is one of fairness. From my experience, for workers who are made redundant or reach retirement age and such, the calculation of the payments are based on the current salary or the previous year's salary, which is fair and correct. However, when it comes to councillors, the calculations are very outdated rates, which is inherently unfair. Also, not shortchange councillors who give a lifetime of service to public life. I know the AILG have been engaging with various departments on this and have been putting forward proposals. They've done a full costing on this, and I suppose it has been suggested that the reason for this anomaly is a wording issue: remuneration payment versus representation payment, forgive me. And if that is the case, is this just an issue of wording that needs to be changed? And if that is the issue, when is that wording going to be changed? Or is this a part of a bigger plan, which is ascertaining of cost, whether it's the cost that this will cost either the council or the state? And if it is an issue of cost, that strikes me as unusual because, as I said, and has been mentioned before, there are very few or none that I can think of circumstances where people's final gratuity is based on a different year to the one when they are leaving the job, whatever the job may be. So I just think it's unusual. So I suppose the Commencement Matter is why is this calculation based on the pre-2021 level? Is there a plan to change it? And is the reason that it's taking a while to change it, is it because of a wording issue, which is remuneration payment versus representation payment? And if that is the case, when will the new wording be put forward to get this sorted?
Senator.
I want to thank Senator Annie Hoey for raising this important matter of the retirement gratuity payable to local authorities. And it's a matter that I am acutely aware of. It came up here when I was on a session to do with local government here on Wednesday the 28th of June. More particularly, I've spoken at length to AILG, LAMA, councillors nationwide, and I'm travelling to all the local authorities. So I'm very aware. And I suppose I want to thank the members for their consistent strong support for local government and for councillors. And it's important that the vital service given by councillors and community be appropriately recognised. I understand the phenomenal work councillors do, so it's something I'm acutely aware of. And unlike the members of the House here, the councillors are not part of any single public service pension scheme. The current arrangements for a non-contributory lump sum are unusual in the public service context. So I just want to give you a background to it because I've it's something I want that we need to do a proper body of empirical work, which I'm working with my officials on. The terms for a gratuity payment councillors are set out in regulations. In essence, retired councillors receive a payment currently worth up to a maximum value of $76,664, subject to their period of service. The gratuity becomes payable once councillors reach the minimum age of retirement, which is under the scheme is 50 years. The calculation of gratuity is based on the representational payment that was in place when the principal regulations were given effect in 2002, which at the time was worth $11,000 per annum. Over the years, representation pay has been adjusted in proportion to any adjustments made to the salary of a senator. The adjusted representation payment is currently worth $19,166, and the maximum gratuity payment payable to a councillor after 20 years of service is worth 400% of that. This would give a maximum gratuity of $76,664. When a person ceases to be a councillor before the age of 50, the gratuity will be preserved until they turn 50. It will be calculated on the basis of the adjusted representational payment on that date. It is the case that gratuity is not currently linked to the councillor's current annual remuneration payment of $28,145 per annum, which you've noted. The government decision of 2001 reforming the financial support package payable to councillors did not provide for this. Neither did the Moorhead report recommend any increase to the gratuity. This is pre my time coming in as a minister. However, I am acutely aware of this situation, which has been raised with me by, as I said, the representational bodies AILG, LAMA and Councillors the length and breadth of Ireland. And I've instructed my officials in the department, local government, to review the situation. We've been doing that for a period of time to set out how council remuneration gratuity may be more closely aligned with the current annual remuneration package. I've said this to both AILG and LAMA. I want to do a proper body of empirical work that does justice to this particular request. And that's why it's something I take very seriously. I note that any adjustment to the existing terms of the retirement gratuity for councillors will require new regulations made with the consent of the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, and we're currently liaising with their counter. So my officials are currently liaising with the officials in the Department of Deeper in this regard. So anything I bring forward will have to be agreed by the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. And I thank Senator Hoey for raising this important matter, and it's something that's very much one of the items in terms of overall issues for councillors that I'm giving serious attention.
My understanding from my conversations I had with Deeper is that they're waiting for that from you in order to be able to then proceed forward from your own department. I'm just wondering, do you have an idea of when that work is going to be done? Is the plan to have it done ahead of the local elections in 2024? And I will say, just the Moorhead report didn't recommend it, therefore we didn't do it. It is unusual, I think, to do something therefore that would be so out of sync with the norms in terms of gratuity, just because a report didn't say it. It is, my understanding, completely out of the norm with any other gratuity system. So that strikes me as an unusual reason to do it. And I think this is part of the bigger conversation. And AILG, LAMA, councillors, there's a lot, I think, of worry about what we want from our local government, our local democracy. And I think it's time that we have an honest conversation about our local government system and what we want out of it. Do we want to continue with this current system of administration, or do we want to move to one that is of true local democracy? And this payment is only a small part of that, but it's a very important one because I think it demonstrates the government's commitment to recognition of the work that councillors do, as someone said, 24/7 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Once again, I want to thank Senator Hoey for raising the matter, important matter of councillors' gratuity. Just a couple of points. I'm in this role a relatively short period of time. I have given priority in terms of councillors, both in terms of security costs, installation, in terms of the gratuity for councillors. The whole issue in terms of ensuring, in terms of the whole maternity aspect for women going out maternity leave, that we get that absolutely embedded. And really the views you bring up here will be taken into serious consideration. So in terms of timing, two aspects. One, anyone who knows me, we have to get this right. So I want to ensure that this stands up, and anything I go to deeper with, there's a logic to it. So I think, in terms of respect for councillors, we have to get this right. That's one. Number two, and it doesn't need to be rushed. However, there is an aspect of timing. So it's my intention that any adjustments will be made in a timely manner, and I'm acutely aware of the local elections coming up next year in 2024. And I suppose if I could conclude on this point, I'm firmly of the view that anyone who's thinking about running for the local elections to local office should be able to know the conditions pertaining to their retirement gratuity. So it's a priority for me in terms of the overall interests of councillors. We're doing a serious body of work in terms of my officials in the review, and I'm looking to have this matter concluded as quickly as possible, but it's hugely important that we get it correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.